Hello everyone, it's Ben from Grappling Insider. Today I am joined by the Black Belt Slayer. He is also the Natty King. He is a two-time ADCC silver medalist, and he is fresh off a $30,000 tournament-winning performance at the UFC Fight Pass Invitational 4. Nick Rodriguez. Nick, thanks for joining me today.
My pleasure. What's going on?
Not much, man. So let's get right to it. I want to talk about this tournament you just won. First of all, did you come out of all three matches completely unscathed? Are you feeling physically well?
Yeah, no, pretty good. Pretty good. Trained every day since, and body's well.
I love it. And then now that it's been a few days since your performance, if you had to rate yourself that night, how would you rate your performance?
Yeah, I mean, performed pretty well. I could work on some early armbar defense. There's like three different stages to armbar defense. There's early, there's medium, like the middle, and late stage. I think it's pretty safe to say my late stage defense is considered excellent, and I could use some work on the early armbar escapes.
Do you think guys were going spiderweb in overtime against you because of the sleeves? Do you think that made any difference? They thought they'd be able to armbar you?
Yeah, for sure. My previous match, we had somebody complain heavily about there being short sleeves, and like if you need long sleeves for your jiu-jitsu to do well, you might as well just put a gi on.
Yeah, right. So did they just tell everybody's got to be wearing long sleeves for this event? Is that because of what Gordon said about the greasing, or do you know anything about that?
I mean, I don't know anything for sure, but most definitely he has an influence. He likes to complain a lot, and he gets his way sometimes.
For sure. Did it change you at all? Like, did it feel any different? I know you probably prefer short sleeves, but did it feel any different for you grappling in longer sleeves?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter to me, long sleeve, short sleeve. I'm just gonna break the grips and do my thing. I prefer short sleeve. I mean, it's much more viewer friendly. Like it's practically having a gi on if we're having long sleeves and whatnot. I mean, ADCC, you don't need a shirt. I don't know why we needed long sleeves. So
yeah, that's a good point. If we can talk technique for a little bit, can you talk me through how you got out of that big Dan armbar? Because obviously on TV it looked really tight, but you're totally fine right now. So tell me how you got out of that.
Yeah, so late stage defense, if your arm's extended, you can rotate your thumb downward, and it changes the angle of the arm, as opposed to having your arm straight and thumb up. You can go thumb down, and then you have all this range of motion to bend the arm. So for sure there's pressure, but as long as you can get your thumb down facing downward, then they can't really control you, and you can escape.
Man, it was pretty freaking crazy. I'll say that much. There's been rumors about the UFC wanting to get more involved in submission grappling. Have you heard anything about that? Or like, what is your sense about where Fight Pass wants to go with this?
Well, I see that UFC, I know that UFC wants to invest in jiu-jitsu. I think they feel like, one championship is trying to compete with them a little bit, which, it's good to have competition in whatever field of work you're doing. But yeah, I feel as if UFC is taking the right strides to have consistent competitions, and I think maybe in the future they want to maybe sign some athletes and whatnot, and I definitely would be open to that.
Yeah, I mean it feels like you're kind of becoming their guy, right? The late notice replacement, now winning this. Do you feel like you're probably going to get called back for at least a couple more matches?
Yeah, they definitely want me to compete more, and I'm open to it, man. I stay pretty ready year round, so I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome. So let's get right to it. Let's talk about, right, you win the big tournament, rip off the rash guard, directly call out Gordon Ryan. I loved it as a spectator. I think it was really entertaining. I was happy to see somebody. It seems like you had prepared. You knew what you wanted to say. In the fallout of that, I guess, first of all, my first question is, would you ever expect Gordon Ryan to accept a USADA tested match with you?
Part of me thinks he might accept because so I think he's like he's uber confident in that he's uber confident in some scenarios, and in others really not confident at all. Um, let's see. What's your exact question again?
Do you think he would ever accept a USADA tested match?
Well, I mean, he said no, but there's part of me that thinks he might accept it. I know. I don't know. Either way, if he fully declines, at least everybody knows that he fully declined a match with me, and that doesn't make him look good. Because
Yeah,
his whole schmeal is like, technique is very valuable. He's like, oh, I teach the best technique. You, whether you're big and strong or small and not as strong, you can use it. But it's like, all right, well, why are you taking gear to be stronger? If your jujitsu is that good, take the Lachlan Giles route and sub the big dudes without needing all the extracurriculars.
okay. But you think there would be a world in which he would accept USADA testing and a match with you? You think? Do you think that's possible?
I mean, a very small world, I think he would say yeah. It would just take him so long to be considered clean. He'd probably have to, get off everything for a very long time to have some purity in his blood, and with that comes a loss of size, and there's a bit of mentality I'm sure that you gain from doing steroids. Like I'm sure it boosts your confidence and somehow. Um, but yeah, I don't know. If it happens, it'd be great for the sport. Honestly, I feel like that's one way to bring jujitsu up. Make it more mainstream. Is have these athletes being drug tested because it's a combat sport, right? You putting your body on the line, like you put yourself in situations where maybe this guy has a straight ankle lock on you and he can't break you, but then he does a bunch of gear and gains 20 pounds of muscle, and he can break your leg in half. So it's you're putting your body on the line, and you're doing against guys that really don't have any regulations.
What's up, everyone? Chances are, if you're tuning into this interview, you probably train in jujitsu, whether it's in the gi, no gi, or both. I've been training for about 13 long years now myself, and when it comes to the gear that I like to use, I personally recommend Rev Gear. They have a premium gi that I love. They have an ultralight competition gi. They have grappling shorts. They even have rash guards that are pretty understated in design, but still really sharp looking. High quality gym bags, even backpacks that can hold multiple gis. So basically just like everything you would need for BJJ training. The best part for me personally is that nothing on that site will break the bank. We're not talking $75, $80 rash guards or $250 gis. Everything that RevGear offers is super reasonably priced, which personally I love. To make it even sweeter, RevGear is offering a 10% discount on every purchase made on revgear.com when you use the promo code INSIDER10 at checkout. That's INSIDER10 for 10% off anything and everything you buy on the site. I will also drop a link in the video description below. Again, I cannot recommend their stuff enough. Everything I have from RevGear fits well, it's solidly made, and in my experience, holds up great in the long run. Again, head over to revgear.com. That's REVGEAR.com. Use the promo code INSIDER10 for 10% off any purchase made and get some quality gear at a phenomenal price. Now, back to the interview, of course. I do want to talk more about Gordon, but let's just talk about steroids in jiu-jitsu a little bit. First of all, like what is everybody that I talk to that is a clean athlete, Mikey Musumeci, the Ruotolos, they all have their reasons as to why they don't do steroids, performance enhancing drugs. What is your personal reason?
Yeah, so one of the reasons that stick out is because before I even started jujitsu, I was a fitness model and I made money, just with my good looks. And because I'm so, it sounds bad, because I'm so handsome, I'm more profitable, right? I make money off not only the physique but the way that I look. Um, and steroids do this weird thing that people's faces, and it kind of grows everything, right? So like you get these guys with like decent bodies, but then they're like puffy and they have these big heads, like so many people on a certain team that we see. So I don't know, I don't like the way it makes people look. In addition, I don't even know I just don't know about the whole steroid situation. I would have to study extensively to learn, what kind of compounds necessary. But like even more than getting stronger, I feel like I wouldn't care about strength. I would care more about endurance. If I could take like I feel like I would value like an EPO that would make sure I just never get tired over something that makes me like, stronger. So that's a couple points. I'm sure there's something else that, um, yeah, yeah. I think that's it for now.
uh, you brought up like steroids possibly giving guys like a mental edge, more confidence. Do you ever feel like you have a mental edge knowing you went into this? You're facing a guy who's on steroids, but you're doing it natural. Does that ever give you a mental edge?
um, well, I mean, yeah, I feel like they need these extra substances in order to perform. Like, and these guys talk about like, oh, peaking for competition. It's like I peak every day. Like I'm consistent, and that's why I'm so much better than all these guys. Just because I'm not good like when I'm on this climb up towards competition. I'm there all year round. Where these guys are going these ups and downs because they're substance abuse, and I'm just on a steady incline all year long. So I think that's what really sets me apart is that I'm just very consistent in the lifestyle that I live. In addition to the whole steroid thing, like I just never had much interest in it because, put it like this, I feel as if I lifted for weights for like 7, 8 years as a bodybuilder per se, just like bodybuilder style with the goal of getting as much muscle mass and looking as good as possible. So I did that for 7 or 8 years in addition to eating like a bodybuilder. And I was able to attain, a substantial amount of mass throughout that long period of time. And I always had the goal of maximizing my body, right? So I feel as if I maximize my body, and I feel there's a problem in not only the jiu-jitsu community but the lifting community where got people live like kind of unhealthy lifestyles, and then they go from doing nothing to lifting all the time, eating right, and doing gear. When in reality, if you just ate right, lifted all the time, and lived that consistent lifestyle, you would have tremendous results without the reliance of these kind of substances. So, for me, I made lifestyle choices that benefit me long term. That's why you don't see me like randomly lose 20, 30, 40 pounds of muscle. I'm consistent all year long.
I know this is probably something you could talk about forever, but real quick, like what are some tips? Like let's say I'm a 16-year-old up and coming jiu-jitsu athlete and I want to make it in the sport and I want to do it natural. How should I be living my life every day?
Okay, so I think you have to maximize your body's natural potential, and you can do that by eating your body weight in protein. Granted, you're not cutting weight in the meantime. Maybe this is off season, you're trying to get a little bit stronger. Eat your body weight in protein every day. And by that, if you're 170 pounds, eat a bare minimum of 170 grams of protein. In addition, lift consistently. I lift every day because I enjoy it. Now, not every day is goal to is not every day that I lift. I have the goal of building, right? Sometimes I'm doing for rehab. Sometimes I just want to get the blood flowing. But determine your goal. Do you want to get bigger and stronger? Do you just want to be stronger at the same weight that you're at? That'll determine what kind of lifts that you're doing. In addition, do you just want to look good? You can lift weights just to make those certain muscles pop out a little bit more. But lifting weights is the easy part. You can structure it how you want, but eating is the toughest part. Have to be very consistent with your food, and if you're trying to gain muscle, you don't have to be necessarily clean. You can get your protein and carbs however you want, but just make sure you're very consistent and getting your body weight and protein every day, and you're guaranteed to gain size.
Sweet. You heard it from the Natty King. Speaking of that, I saw a post. You are either wearing a Natty King rash guard or a t-shirt. Is that merch going up anywhere? Where can people get that?
I think eventually we'll sell it probably on the B Team Shopify. But for now, just advertising a little bit, seeing what sparks the people's interest. I think got like 18, 19,000 likes on social media. So it seems like a pretty popular rash card, might do well.
I love it. I'm a fan of it. Who came up with, was that you coming up with Natty King is the name, or was that somebody else?
Yeah, Natty King. I've been, my friends call me that for a little while now, and I think the internet just kind of caught a glimpse of that. And I have a buddy that makes logos, and he kind of sent it to me one day. I was like, yeah, this looks pretty good. So we'll probably do a couple Natty King rash guards and merchandise, whatnot.
I support it. So getting back to Gordon Ryan, one thing I'm curious about is like, you don't talk a ton of trash, at least on social media. He does, obviously. This is something where like you guys live in the same city, you are just in the same building. He was on Instagram talking about you on his Instagram stories while you guys are still in the same building. And I'm curious, like, do you ever first of all, run into him in person? And if, or do you ever expect those like actual confrontations to happen?
Gordon's very anti-confrontation. You know, he'll take social media into his hands in order to express his opinion, but he doesn't. He'll put a lot of posts in his stories because I don't really like. I don't. I'm just not on Instagram that too much. Like I'll post and I'll dip. I don't really like live my life on the phone as he does. Um, but yeah, so I won't see a lot of the stuff that he says about me. I'll just hear it through other people. In addition, he'll post things about me on his story, so I don't reply because when I reply, like seldomly, like I just don't care a lot. But sometimes I'll reply just to dig at him a little bit, and he really take it to heart and get his feelings hurt. Like he had this like outburst when during the more plates, more dates thing. We had some people like essentially some spies in his training camp, and they're like, yeah, Gordon had like a freak out on the mat, like a verbal like a temper tantrum, during that, and then soon after, he ends up pulling out of this match. So he was a bit psychologically unwell, as well as the lingering of the broken foot that I gave him going into the pennant match. So he had a bunch of factors going against him and forced him to essentially pull out of the match and give me a nice paycheck in the meantime. So, I don't hit him with too many comebacks on social media, but when I do it right and they hurt him.
So let's since you're like, I respect that you're not a guy who wants to spend a lot of time on social media going back at it. Absolutely respect that, but I do want to like give you a chance to respond to some of the things that he says on social media. Maybe you didn't even see any of these things, and these are all things that I'm sure you've heard before. One is like, his reason for turning down your match was that steroids are legal and there's no reason to have USADA testing.
Well, if you look at Gordon's an IBJJF black belt world champion, and steroids have never been legal in IBJJF as well. I mean, as long as I've been doing jiu-jitsu past 5 years or so. So right then he's cheating. Like we know he's been on gear for a long time. He does IBJJF worlds, and for some reason he doesn't get drug tested, and he's able to reclaim that title. So yeah, I mean that's not legal in that association. In addition, steroids can make an unathletic, underperforming regular person seem like a superhuman. You're changing essentially the biology of your body. You're taking all this exogenous hormones, and you can. I know people that take stuff. I know people that personally have taken stuff and just sat on the couch for weeks at a time and able to gain muscle, not by work, by just taking these substances, and they're able to regain and retain this muscle mass. So yeah, it's a lot less. You just don't have to work as hard to gain muscle and whatnot. So that's another thing that puts me ahead is, I do the real work. I'm not sitting there, injecting myself in order to get results. I'm putting the work in. I'm having the consistency in my diet, my sleep, and my training. And, that's what sets me apart from these guys.
Something else he said as to why he turned down the match is basically, I'm the best. I make the rules. I've beaten you already. You don't get to dictate the rule set or testing, anything like that.
Don't get the yeah. I mean, it sounds like he's scared, to be honest with you. If you look at the first match, he submits me in a leg lock, and then I get a little bit better, and a couple weeks later, I break his foot in a leg lock, and it's like, wow, he has this realization that Nicky Rod's right there. Nicky Rod's better than him. That's the real issue that he's facing. And even though I'm just an inexperienced brown belt, I'm able to getting these jiu-jitsu situations with the all-time GOAT Gordon and break him there and break him badly, so much so that he ended up retiring after our match. So that tells me that not only in our last match, Gordon versus Nicky Rod, Nicky Rod was not only able to break his foot physically, but also break his spirit mentally. So, I think this guy is down in the dumps. So he's been through a spiral of depression in the past few months. He lost, 30, 40 pounds of muscle in addition to that. So, after our match, his life, was going downhill fast. And that's all thanks to me.
I love it. Do you think those this is a little off topic, but do you think those health problems that he's saying are keeping him out of competition are related to Like, are you saying that this all kind of kicked off kind of the domino effect for him that's keeping him out of competition?
There's a common trend amongst people that take oral anabolic steroids, and that is they have stomach issues. So, you know, sometimes sometimes what you bring upon yourself, you have to kind of reap the result.
Right on. I get it.
Yeah.
And then something else he said that, again, like you might not even see this on social media. He kind of does this to everybody, is he downplayed your performance. You know, you beat Roberto, you beat Wagner, you tapped out Big Dan. He basically said, like, that's nothing to be impressed by because I beat Roberto and I beat Wagner, and Big Dan apparently is a junior. So what's your response to
Well,
that?
well, let's see. It took him what 30 minutes to submit Wagner Rocha, maybe longer, and I did it in like 8 or 9. Um, Big Dan, Gordon hates B Team and Nicky Rod so much that he'll actually talk bad about his teammates to try and make me look bad. Like Big Dan's a tough guy. He won ADCC trials. He's an ADCC veteran, and then Gordon's like, oh, he's not even in our main roster. He's our backup. And it's like, wow, you're gonna say that to your guy, your main training partner you're supposed to be friends with and training with. So that just speaks to his character, and it honestly sucks for the up and coming guys on that team because if you go against a B team, it's like you could practically be kicked off the team if you like have a bad performance because we see how Big Dan goes from being one of their main roster and their main starter, and Gordon's like, oh, he's a junior, he's not even allowed to train with us, so that sucks for those guys, but all welcome at B Team Jiu-Jitsu.
I love it. And then last thing, Gordon's kind of backed off this recently, but he has said that, like, even if I wasn't on steroids, I would still be winning all these matches. How do you think he would be if he were not on steroids?
I have grappled guys that they go to a tournament and like right before the tournament they're peaking. I'm like, oh, this guy's doing good, and then they come back into practice like a week later, 2 weeks later, when they're like on less gear, and it's a different human. I'm not even saying like natural. I'm just saying taking less substances, and completely different person. So I can only imagine how that would be if they were not taking any substances.
Right on. And then one more topic I want to touch on before I get you out of here. Something completely shifting gears that I would be excited to see a Gordon Ryan match. Obviously, a Gable Steveson, whether it's wrestling and jiu-jitsu, just grappling. Tell me, if people might not even know who that guy is, if they're just jiu-jitsu fans, tell me who that is and why people should be excited about a potential match against him.
Yeah, so potential matchup Nicky Rod, the Black Belt Slayer, versus Gable Steveson, the Olympic freestyle wrestling champion. I have been a fan of Gable since he was like in high school. I remember watching him and then going to college and him killing it there. And then now he's kind of like, almost done with college, and he wins an Olympic gold medal. And man, I started off my martial arts career as a wrestler, so I have tremendous amount of respect for Gable and wrestlers like him, and I really appreciate that he's even entertaining having a competition against a guy like me, because that'll elevate not only my sport and it'll bring some interest from the wrestling world as well. But I would be open to doing something like maybe a hybrid rules match, or maybe one match jiu-jitsu, one match wrestling. I'm open to many different variations, but stepping on the mat with a guy like that is a huge honor for me. Like, I respect him a ton, and I would love to just get in there and compete against him a little bit. He was kind enough to have me train with him maybe like 2 years ago when he was in New York for a Beat the Streets event. So we got to wrestle on the feet a little bit, and man, incredible athlete. I'm sure you guys seen him doing like backflips 10 foot in the air and whatnot. So incredible athlete, awesome character, like really good, nice, kind-hearted person. And I'm looking forward to it. I think it's something that sparks interest both like actually all in the MMA world, the jiu-jitsu world, and the wrestling world. It's something we can kind of all combine together. Maybe we compete on the UFC Fight Pass event or something like that. But yeah, I could definitely see it happening in the future. And I think it would be a very extremely watched match.
Yeah, I think it would be huge. Absolutely huge. Talk to me a little bit about how quickly a wrestler of his caliber could be dangerous in jiu-jitsu, like learning submissions.
Yeah, a wrestler of Gable Stevenson's caliber could definitely do well in the world of jiu-jitsu, especially if they focus on leg locks early on. As we know, wrestlers, they're good at controlling people on the mat, but the leg locks is essentially a different world. It's almost an individual sport in itself. So if you took a guy like Gable that is not only fast and agile and intelligent, but you give them the ability to scramble for long periods of time on the mat, and you give them the knowledge of leg locks, man, it could be dangerous.
Yeah.
Because there's not that many extremely high level athletes in jiu-jitsu. Like you look at Gordon, he's not like an athletic guy. Imagine like the closest thing is like me, I have that technique, but plus a extreme amount of athleticism. Once we get more guys like me in the sport, my brother's there. Nicky Ryan, Gordon's brother, is actually much more athletic than Gordon for some reason. Nicky's a phenomenal athlete, but the more you up the level of athleticism in the sport, you can match it with technique, and then it changes the sport as a whole.
Awesome. All right. So you want the Gordon Ryan match, obviously. You're down for a Gable Steveson match. Anything else? Are you just chilling right now? Is there anything else on the horizon that fans can look forward to the rest of this year?
Yeah, I have a seminar at Rogue Wave Martial Arts Academy in West Palm Beach, Florida. That's on July 22nd. And then August 5th, I have a seminar at like 10 p Portland. Oh man, I might be getting this wrong, but something like that. But definitely July 22nd, Rogue Wave Martial Arts Academy, West Palm Beach, Florida. Come check it out. Enjoy. And make sure you guys subscribe to the YouTube channel, B Team Jiu-Jitsu. Like and subscribe.
You heard it. You heard it. Thanks, Nick. Have a good one, man.
All right. Thanks, bud. Bye.